This is probably why your SAT score is not increasing. The greatest athletes don't get good by just watching game film. People who are great at playing instruments don't get good by just listening to other people play instruments. So how do people become great or at least good at anything? You probably know that practice is important, and I'm not here to just tell you that you should do more practice. Because the truth is, there's also athletes and musicians who practice but are not that good. So completing practice problems alone is a step in the right direction, but at the same time, we also want to get the most out of the time we spend doing practice problems. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you the exact practice method that our students use to increase their SAT scores. So once you learn the core concepts tested on the exam, which is like actually learning how to do the math, how to fix sentences, which punctuation marks should be used, etc., you need to be able to identify what to do when you come across any question on the SAT. If you're wondering who I am, my name is Krishna. I'm the founder of Future Admit, and we've helped hundreds of students from 22 plus countries earn their dream score. So you essentially want to complete two types of practice when you're preparing for the SAT. Isolated and cumulative. First, you want to do isolated practice, which is really just a fancy word for doing 15 to 20 practice problems on just one specific topic. So for example, let's say you just learned about quadratics. Now you want to dive into 15 to 20 practice problems on just quadratics. Why? Well, by doing this, you're going to start to recognize a lot of common patterns. This process is called pattern recognition, and essentially what's going to happen is you're going to start to recognize what incorrect answer choices look like, what correct answer choices look like, and most importantly, the way the SAT phrases each question. You're going to start to recognize all these patterns. You already know that the SAT is a super repetitive test, so it's filled with patterns. For example, this problem here just looks quite long and confusing at first. But in reality, this question is just asking us, what is the slope of the line? See how easy the SAT can become when you can recognize what to do first. Why doesn't the SAT always just ask us direct questions like this? Well, then almost everyone would get the question right, so they can't do that. That's why they have their own type of jargon and language associated with each problem. Okay, so then what is the second type of practice you need to be doing? Well, you know how in school you're only really tested on one topic at a time. So let's say you learned about quadratics. Now your test is probably only going to be on quadratics. Well, on the SAT, you're tested on a variety of topics, right? We're tested on algebra, geometry, statistics, all these different topics. This means that the exam is something called cumulative. So for most students, the only cumulative practice they really get is when they take practice tests. So a lot of people wonder why they can't get used to the SAT structure, but the truth is the only time that they've really been exposed to realistic SAT practice is like 3 or 4 times when they're doing the practice tests. So you want to make sure that you're doing practice sets where you have questions on algebra, geometry, statistics kind of mixed in there. Because it's really easy to remember what to do when all of the problems are just on one specific topic. But then when you're tested on a variety of topics, it's harder to identify what you should actually be doing. Now, if I had to just choose one type of practice method to use to increase your SAT score in the next 30 days, it would hands down be the isolated practice method. Remember, this is just you doing 15 to 20 practice problems on one specific topic. Obviously, these questions need to be SAT realistic. As you go through these problems, really start to recognize how they ask the question, how incorrect answer choices look, what correct answer choices look like. Because the SAT is a super repetitive test, so there is a very high chance that the question is going to be asked the same way, but just with different numbers and names, basically. So if you're starting your SAT prep journey or feel stuck at your current score, feel free to check out our masterclass. Link is in the description. It's also going to come with the free guide. This is going to walk you through mistakes to avoid, how to start SAT prep, and the 3-step process that we use to get our students results like this. Lastly, if you're interested in using Desmos to increase your score, make sure you go check out the last video that we just put out.